Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Trish, and if you're new here, thank you for stopping by. Today I'm going to be sharing a tutorial I did on a light up Halloween spell book box. Just as a disclaimer, there are a lot of steps to this project, so despite me speeding most of it up, the video is a little long. The project was first inspired by Claire from Claire's Crafty Corner, who is an amazing and talented crafter on YouTube. I saw her video about a year ago and decided to create my own version. I really encourage you to check out her channel, and I will link her video down below as well. As always, thank you for supporting my channel, and if you enjoy my content, please do me a favor and like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you'll be informed each time I post a video. Also, I'm an Amazon affiliate, so if you're interested in purchasing any of the materials I've listed in the description, just know that if you use any of those links, I do get a small commission. Alright, so these will be the materials that you'll be needing, and now we can get started with the tutorial. Enjoy the video. Okay, so here I'm using a paper mache box from Michaels. It looks like a book and it's like a keepsake box type of thing. And I've done this project 4 other times and done similar things to what I'm doing here. And I've used wood also, wood boxes that look like books. And so I just like to try different things to see how they'll turn out. It's nice to experiment with it in different ways. And so now I'm just using those self-adhesive stickers. If you get your letters from Dollar Tree, those ones don't have adhesive on the back and you have to glue them on so that they won't move around, because the important thing is when you later on will put the paper towel over the front, you're gonna need everything to be securely in place. So it's nice that these have the adhesive on the back, so you don't have to really worry about it. Okay, and this is one of the easier parts. You just take your glue gun and you do an outline of a spider's web. And when I've done this in the past, I've just used a pencil and kind of sketched a web and then used that as a guide. I didn't do that this time. I just did it freehand, which I'm not the best at doing, but I just decided to wing it. So now what you want to do is get your paper towel and crumple it up, because that will give it kind of like an old leather look when you put the glue on it later. So just crumple it up and then situate it over the box. And don't do what I'm doing here. You really should put the glue on first and then put the paper towel over it and then add more glue. It just makes it a lot easier and it goes a little bit faster. I don't know why I forgot that step, but it's been a while since I've made these, and eventually I figure it out and I'm like, oh yeah, I probably should be putting the glue on first. So it's really important to make sure that you have plenty of glue around the lettering, because you want to make sure that when it dries that you're going to be able to see the letters come through good. So you want to make a good imprint. And so you want to take your paintbrush and kind of outline the letters, make sure all of the little impressions are going to come through. So here I'm just outlining with my paintbrush to make sure that happens. And just make sure that when you are gluing the paper towel down that you are only doing the front, the back, and the spine part of the box. You want to leave the other parts smooth. Like, you want it to be a smooth surface, because that's going to be where the pages are going to be, whether you want to use texture paste or paint. So you want that to be a smooth surface, no paper towel right there. And if you have any paper towel that's like hanging over, don't worry about that. That can be trimmed later. Okay, so now the glue has completely dried, and so here I'm going to be just trimming away any of that excess paper towel now that it's all been dried. Okay, and now you're just going to take your glue gun and just retrace over those lines that you made before for the spider web. And that's just so that they'll be more pronounced when you paint. And now you just want to take your pencil and trace a square where you're going to be cutting the hole, and try to figure out where you want to place your skull so that when you cut the hole, the candle will be shining through the skull. So yes, this is the fun part. So now you're going to paint the front and the back and the spine of the book completely black. Okay, and so after your paint has completely dried, then you can start adding some of your embellishments if you like. And I'm using these metal borders that I found at Hobby Lobby, and I believe they also sell them at Michael's and Amazon. I think they're just called embellishments, and I will put a link in the description so you'll know where to get them if you'd like to use them in your project. And it's up to you if you want to use hot glue or tacky glue for these little pieces here. The thing is that, you know, there's a lot of gaps in those, and so you want to be really careful when you're using the hot glue because you don't want it to show. And when you use tacky glue, it's kind of disappears, and with hot glue it tends to be a lot more visible. So you just have to be careful if you use that, and it's just up to you which one you want to use. And so this is optional, but I decided to add these little pull handles that you would buy for a cabinet or a drawer. And they were the perfect size for the spine of this book. And they just added like a really cool embellishment look to this project. Okay, so this is pretty much where the project really starts to come to life. When you add this gray paint, it just gives it this really cool look, and you don't need a whole lot of paint, and you just lightly brush so that you're highlighting over the black, and it just kind of makes it look a little creepy. It makes it look a little old. And if you want, you can paint the embellishments too as well, or you can keep them brass or silver, whichever color you decide that you want. And it just gives it like a really cool kind of like washed out look. Okay, so while the gray paint is drying, then you can take this time to paint any of the other embellishments if you'd like. This is completely optional. You can leave the skull as it is, or you can paint it. I like to paint it black and highlight with gray. And this skull I got from Michael's, and I just cut off the back part of the head so that I could glue it onto the front of this book. So now what I like to do is highlight the skull with silver wax paint. This stuff is amazing. I've used it in so many of my other projects, including some of these other faux books that I've done. And a little bit goes a long way. You don't really need that much, and you just put a little bit on your finger and just kind of put it wherever you think you need it, and it just gives it like a really cool effect. And the snake that's right there, I got that at Dollar Tree, and so the idea is that I'm going to be putting the snake through the skull's mouth, and so it looks like a snake is coming out of his mouth. So the next step is to hot glue the electronic candle to the inside of the box. And I definitely put too much hot glue. I should have actually just put it on the rim of the electronic candle instead of putting it onto the cardboard. And I did not like the way it looked, and I had to actually kind of fix it afterwards, or hide it. And so don't do this. Just put it on the candle. Well, I am so sorry, but for whatever reason, I wasn't recording the last little segment. It was of me hot gluing the skull to the front of the book, and also, like what you're seeing here, some highlighting and hot gluing that little sign that says the witching hour. So I think I was a little distracted. My toddler kept coming in and out of the room, and I thought it was recording and it wasn't. So anyways, if you're wondering why that part wasn't shown, that's the reason. And so now I'm just continuing to try to highlight, and like I said, I was trying to cover up that glue spot that I didn't like, so I'm trying to blend it all in and just make it look more blended and natural. So now you can see what it looks like with the skull hot glued to the front. And I'm just opening it up so you can see what it looks like. And now it's time to create the pages. Now, this is optional. You can just use paint if you want to create the illusion of pages, but I really like this effect of using texture paste and creating the look of pages. So I purchased this modeling paste on Amazon, but you can also make it homemade at home if you have plaster of Paris. And there's lots of different videos that you can find on YouTube that shows you how to make your own texture paste if you don't want to spend the money to buy it already made. It is pretty easy to make, but it is a little tricky finding the right texture sometimes. So I just like it. It does save a lot of time if it's already made, but like I said, if you want to save a little bit of money, then you can make it yourself. So then you just use a palette knife and spread a thin layer of texture paste onto the top and the side and the bottom where the pages would be on this book. And just make sure it's a very thin layer and bring it all the way to the edge, all the way to the back. And you just want to make sure when you're putting on the texture paste to go back over the edges with a damp cloth or paper towel and wipe it down just to make sure that there's no excess paste on the inside of the box. And I've seen different techniques of doing this. I'm just using like a toothpick. You can use a comb, you can use a bunch of tiny little toothpicks taped together. I've seen different ways of doing it. It doesn't really matter, whichever your preference is. They all look pretty good. I kind of wanted my pages to look uneven. I didn't want it to look uniform. I wanted it to have sort of the illusion of being a very old book. And when the texture paste is completely dry, then you want to take some sandpaper and just kind of smooth the edges. I didn't want to make it completely smooth because I still wanted the pages to appear old and kind of, you know, worn. I just wanted to make sure there were no sharp edges anywhere and just kind of smooth it a little bit. So it's up to you on how much you want to sandpaper yours down. I decided to just do it lightly. Alright, we made it to the end of the video. So this is the final reveal of the spell book box. I'm just showing some pictures here of how it looks in the light and in the dark. And you know, I really love how this turned out. As I said earlier, I've made other ones and they each have had their own unique touch to them, but this one might be my favorite. So I really enjoyed it, and I know this video was kind of long. As I said, there's a lot of steps to it, and so it can take several days to finish this, just because there's so much drying in between. Sometimes you can use a heat gun or a blow dryer to kind of speed up the time, but sometimes that ends up backfiring, and sometimes it's best to let it dry on its own. Anyways, as always, thank you so much for supporting my channel. If you're interested in making this project, please look for the materials used in the links below. If you enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, and comment, and let me know what you think. Happy Halloween, and I'll see you in the next video.